Kept you waiting, huh?
I'll say.
Oh, hey, Mark.
So, what's with the new caps here?
Well, one does want a hint of color.
No, honestly, it's hurting kind of under my eyes.
So get used to it. Anyway, did you want something?
Yeah, here's that thing you ordered.
Ah, thank you. Now I'm ready.
That thing barely fits you, John.
It'll stretch out.
Give me the fucking
No, get I'm heading into new territory here, despite the age of the console. Well, the MSX was more of a home computer system released in 1983. This shit predates the Famicom. It was barely known in the US, but it was popular in Asian markets such as Japan. Companies like Konami, for example, thrived on it. Remember that vampire killer game I mentioned during one of my Castlevania reviews? That was released on the MSX. Ah yes, Hideo Kojima, the guy who originally yearned to be a film director but would later switch to become a full-out game designer. Inspired by other developers like Shigeru Miyamoto and Yuji Horii of Dragon Quest fame. His first title being Penguin Adventure. Bet you didn't see that one coming, I sure as hell didn't. The West has received word that a weapon of mass destruction is being created inside a heavily fortified base called Outer Heaven. Special Forces Unit Foxhound send their best agent, called Grey Fox, to infiltrate the base and neutralize the threat, but after a few days, Grey Fox goes MIA. That's missing in action. Trust me, there's a lot more acronyms to come. However, as Snake embarks on these continuous rescue missions, he begins to notice Big Boss acting stranger and stranger. He deliberately offers misleading advice, leading Snake into death traps, and at one point even breaking the fourth wall, telling Snake to turn off the console. Every guard suffers from an extreme case of tunnel vision. As long as Snake is not directly in front of them, it's like he's not even there at all. You can be as loud as you want as well, as long as you don't detonate an explosive or fire a gun without a suppressor. Snake apparently can't place a gas mask around his face and hold onto a card key with his hand at the same time. So when you gotta exit the room, you have to unequip your gas mask for the card key, which means you're gonna take a bit of damage upon exiting the room. I hope you're not starving for health during these moments, because it happens on quite a few occasions. Yeah, I classify Metal Gear as a guide game because there are some things I don't think an average player is logically going to do in this day and age. How about punching a security door open without the proper card key, because you can suddenly do that now, knowing the exact locations of those motherfucking pitfalls that kill you in one hit, and just knowing where to go at all. The opening drops Snake off in a jungle via helicopter. Beats the fuck out of me who these other people are. We never see them again after this sequence. Enemies don't drop ammo or rations when defeated with punches, so you gotta rely on finding those items scattered in rooms and refilling them via the method I mentioned earlier. Also, if you happen to get spotted, you can just leave and re-enter the current scene to end the chase, so guards here have both tunnel vision and 5-second memories. And if you're some sort of grammar Nazi, this game's translation won't help you feel asleep at night. Honestly, I'm laughing at this kind of shit though. It's fun to be reminded of a time when proofreading and quality assurance was a luxury. There's this part where Snyder, the informant I mentioned earlier, warns you about some poisonous rooms up ahead, and as you travel along in that building, Snyder contacts you one last time about the identity of Outer Heaven's leader, but before he can reveal the name, he's killed off. But when you go back to the area where Snyder warned you about the poisonous rooms, there he is, warning you again like he never died at all. Wow. But I swear to God, this has to be the best part. Now, the NES game has a password system. It's very typical stuff, and if you want to skip straight to the end with the supercomputer and Big Boss with every weapon and item available, you type in "fuck me" on the password screen. Fuck me! They got away with that! How do you miss something like that? Lieutenant Solid Snake. God, that just sounds like something ripped out of an 80s action movie. And on that note, Snakes decided to trade in his green camouflage for some bright orange sports gear that would put Guile's army in the Street Fighter movie to shame. I hate the 2D shit, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't enjoy the music during those parts. Basically, one of your comrades gets captured in the beginning of the game, and later on you think you find him, but it turns out to be a lookalike. The boss fight doesn't start until you attempt to free him, but the moment you do, you take damage. That's bullshit. What if I was low on health? How the fuck was I supposed to know that would happen? And the actual fight is just close-quartered mayhem with a death trap right in the middle of the room. I died a dozen times to the point where I decided to just lay the fucker down with rockets in hopes that he would die before I do. Hideo Kojima got wind of a sequel being developed for Metal Gear without his involvement. I don't think he was angry about Snake's revenge, but he decided to make his own sequel, and not to the NES game, but to the original MSX Metal Gear. Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake was released for the Japanese market in 1990, almost around the same time as America got Snake's revenge. It's a battle of the sequels. Which one can claim dominance as Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake, without a doubt? I'm sorry, but this is clearly the better game between the two for me, and my personal favorite of the original Metal Gear titles. It has problems, but excuse the pun, it's a solid game. Foxhound, now led by Colonel Roy Campbell, manages to bring Solid Snake out of retirement in hopes of finding and rescuing Dr. Marv. He's joined by Holly White, a CIA operative posing as a journalist, George Kastler, who knows a thing or two about enemies of Zanzibar land, McDonald Miller acting as a survival consultant and general breaker of the fourth wall, and eventually Gustava Hefner, a woman Snake develops feelings toward in some manner, who is also the personal bodyguard of Dr. Marv and an agent of the STB. See, the acronyms just keep coming, buckle in, boys and girls. But the rabbit hole just gets deeper. Snake soon encounters a new model of Metal Gear, which kills Gustavo right in front of the hardened soldier, and to make matters worse, the pilot is revealed to be Gray Fox, who deserted Foxhound after the events in Outer Heaven and joined ranks with Big Boss. The former comrade warns Snake to stay away and recaptures Dr. Madnar, but Snake is not one to simply leave and manages to make his way to Dr. Marv's location, where he unfortunately discovers the corpse of the poor doctor, and the perpetrator is revealed to be none other than Dr. Madnar, who has been secretly working for Zanzibar land the whole time as revenge against those in America who shunned his scientific research. Dear God, who hasn't Big Boss swayed with his magical eye patch? Now, about the actual game. I mean, it is a game after all. Love this opening theme, man. I heard it first on Super Smash Bros. Brawl. It's called the theme of Solid Snake. Loved it then, I love it now. You can always exit the area and look for what you need so you can't screw yourself, but it sort of takes me out of it when I have to backtrack to a previous area while the boss probably wanders off screen. Dude, what's the fucking holdup? Special thanks to Merchoid for the Metal Gear shirt, even though I think I may have accidentally shrunk it while running it through the dryer. And you know what I have to thank for getting me into this series of terrorism, nuclear deterrence, and one man's journey to delve into a global conspiracy he has no hopes of comprehending? Pokemon. Yep, as weird as it sounds, I have Pokemon to thank for getting me into the series. Let's set the clock back to 1999. I was in middle school and the trading card game was what everyone talked about. Maybe I already mentioned this during my Pokemon trading card game review, but one day a friend of mine gave me his copy of Metal Gear Solid in exchange for my holographic Kangaskhan. Now, why did I agree to that? Because I was getting a PlayStation game for a shiny piece of cardboard. It could have been fucking Blasto and I would have agreed to it. This is a precaution I throw out now. If you're thinking of getting into the series at all, if you haven't already, prepare yourself. At many points, it will feel like you're watching a movie instead of playing a game. This is no Mario Brothers, this is no Sonic the Hedgehog, it's not even Final Fantasy. This is Metal Gear Solid, a Hideo Kojima game. You can catch up on the events that transpired in the first two Metal Gear games thanks to the previous operations feature inside the title menu, although I'm pretty sure the CIA operative that helped me in Metal Gear 2 was named Holly and not Hori. Oh dear. If you're wondering what in the hell's left of the man after Snake burned him alive last time, Naomi, if you would.
His body was burned severely, but it was possible to restore his DNA profile from just a single strand of his hair.
There you go. Science. And finally, the leader of the bunch, Liquid Snake, who looks very identical to our hero and is an absolute ham.
Now I'll finish the work that Father began. I will surpass him. I will destroy him.
You're just like Naomi.
Well, I'm not like you.
What are nanomachines? Magic.
There are different types which will replenish the supply of adrenaline, nutrition, and sugar in your bloodstream.
Now I don't have to worry about food.
I also put some nootropics in there.
Say what?
Nootropics. A class of drugs which will help improve your mental functioning.
It'll make me smarter, huh? Anything else?
Yes, Benzedrine.
Hot damn. Next up is Mei-Ling, the inventor of Snake's new Soliton radar system that helps him track enemy activity on a level greater than the radar he had last time. She's also how you save your game, not that I think Snake has any idea what that means. With Campbell not helping and easing his doubts, it's like he doesn't even try.
Colonel, are you listening? Now he's dead too. I have no idea. Don't lie to me.
Snake is quick to make contact with Marrow after looking at the back of the CD case, and the two spend some time getting to know each other. Snake is able to locate Marrow after staring at some asses for a bit. That makes more sense in context, believe me. Marrow hands over the PAL key to Snake and the two begin to head out, but not before getting mind-fucked by Psycho Mantis, using all sorts of creative methods to break the fourth wall.
You like Castlevania, don't you?
To make matters worse, he's caught by some soldiers soon after, and they're led by Sniper Wolf, who is apparently bulletproof. She doesn't have a single goddamn scratch on her after being shot multiple times with a sniper rifle. Liquid is taken out in a fiery explosion thanks to Snake's use of Stinger missiles, and by God, we're finally at the underground base. That is after dealing with Sniper Wolf for a second time. She may be bulletproof, but nothing can stop a remote-controlled missile. He finally manages to use the PAL key to prevent the nuclear launch, except the complete opposite happens. Snake ends up arming the nuclear weapon on Metal Gear, and Liquid Snake, who by the way survived the Hind D explosion, mocks Snake for falling into his trap, revealing that he was posing as McDonald Miller the whole time to keep tabs on Snake. Poor McDonald Miller, killed off screen like a chump. Snake and Marrow find an escape route and take off via a commandeered jeep, but Jesus Christ, Liquid is once again alive to give our hero shit. He's an android. He's gotta be a fucking android. That or he has auto life, but no, he's human after all. Liquid collides with their jeep and has the two lovebirds pinned to the ground, but before he can finish them off, Liquid is finally killed by the Foxdie virus inside Snake. So there's that. And this is a totally frivolous complaint, but the endgame reveals Snake's name to be David. Come on. Solid Snake is a name to be feared. David is my neighbor down the street. I know it's meant to humanize the guy and all that, but I don't know. Kind of sucks away some of the mystique. But I kid. Let's put it this way. Metal Gear Solid is around an 8 to 10 hour game. Without cutscenes and codec conversations, it's around 4 hours of pure game time. That's how much emphasis is here on story, and if that doesn't mesh well with you, I'll tell you now, this isn't the series for you. Card keys are no longer pace breakers as well. The cards stack now when you collect them, thank Christ. And thanks to texture technology, doors are clearly labeled, so you know from the get-go if it's the door you're looking for. That classic alert sound was a goddamn jump scare during my early days. Just when I thought I was careful enough, that split-second shriek informed me that I fucked up and now I'm running away like a dope. I should have been more cautious, but sometimes it's out of my hands, which is why I never liked that communications tower bit. Any guard you can sneak up behind can be taken out by snapping their neck. It's quick, it's quiet, and leaves no mess, since bodies vanish into thin air when guards die. I love replaying this with the bonus items you get for completing the game with both endings, like the stealth camouflage, making you invisible to everything except bosses, or the bandana, which gives you infinite ammo. And do I need to explain why I love playing as Snake in the tuxedo? Now, I still recommend Metal Gear 2 for being a good stealth game, but you can absolutely begin your Metal Gear binge with Solid. But as Liquid would say,
it's not over yet!
Now, I'll be quick with this one. This has appeal, but not on the same level as the original MGS. There's no story, it's just VR missions, and some of the shit Snake has to do to win is hilarious. Playing bowling with a Nikita missile, finding out who ate the dead man's sea salt ice cream, it looks like, oh, fuck this shit. How about battling 100-foot genome soldiers? Because you never know when Snake's gonna run into those. I guess I can kill the rest of my time taking pictures of Naomi and Mei-Ling. This is an odd time sink, but it's funny to imagine Snake as a freelance photographer. Yeah, that's good, Naomi. You're lost, you're confused, you're thinking about revenge. Yeah, type on that keyboard. I bet you're not even really typing anything, but nobody knows about that, You just went on Google Images with Safe Search off, didn't you? Yeah, I didn't even know I could bend that way either. Yeah, that's it, Mei-Ling. Walk in place. It's like a reverse moonwalk, which I guess is like regular walking, but yeah, hold still and done. Sporting a retooled script and higher quality graphics. The story is exactly the same as before, but holy mother of God, did someone love the shit out of The Matrix. The cinematography is extremely over the top, exploding with dramatic slowdown, intense camera work, and more stylized action that can make Bayonetta blink. As an action game, it's fantastic. As a Metal Gear game, it's fucking ridiculous. Snake jumps off of an active missile launched by the Hind D just so he can get a good shot. When Metal Gear Rex activates, Snake's first line of offense is to attack the giant fucking thing head on. What the fuck did he think he was going to accomplish there? But by far the most over-the-top part is when Kenneth Baker tells Snake he forgot Meryl's codec number.
Sorry, I forgot. Damn!
Jesus, Snake, calm the fuck down.
You've been playing Super Mario Sunshine, haven't you?
At face value, it looked like Ryu from Street Fighter decided to put aside his martial arts for some Gundam training. And oh fuck, his ship is called the Vic Viper. Damn, I wish I had something like this in Gradius 3.
Selvice! That is you, isn't it, Selvice? Are you alright, Selvice?
Leo.
I'll save my critiques and such whenever I get to the Zone of the Enders, maybe during a non-Metal Gear Kojima retrospective, but damn. Look at Snake, man, you can actually see his face, the detail in his sneaking suit, the weather effects on the tanker. Not sure how I feel about the mullet, but look at all the cool things I could do now. Hanging on rails, shooting in first-person mode, dodge rolling, wee! Ow. The demo left me with an appetite for more. It was a 2001 holiday release, it's what I wanted for Christmas that year, and I ended up getting Onimusha instead. And perhaps most bizarrely, a skateboard minigame. There's still plenty of games left to look at, but Solid Snake skateboarding? This is uber surreal. Too bad I'm not really good at grinding and doing tricks. Solid Snake and Otacon, who escaped Shadow Moses safely, have received an anonymous tip that the US Marines are developing their own brand of Metal Gear, specifically built to counter Metal Gear Rex and all of its derivatives across the globe. Well, looks like Snake didn't exactly take Naomi's advice last time. I guess Snake's idea of living the remainder of his life to the fullest is ridding the world of Metal Gears. But to be fair, that's his choice, and I think he feels somewhat responsible for the Metal Gear surge. Glukovich claims that they're taking Metal Gear Ray for themselves, for Mother Russia, but Ocelot has different plans. He betrays Glukovich right then and there and states that he's taking Metal Gear Ray in the name of the Patriots.
And so it begins.
They call themselves the Sons of Liberty, and they threaten to blow up the Big Shell if they don't receive a ransom demand of
$30 billion.
Meet Raiden, ladies and gentlemen, his real name being Jack, a character that I think is defined as early as his first codec conversation.
There's a terminal in front of the elevator, a node.
Did you say nerd?
Not nerd, node.
Oh.
He's a total dork and completely VR trained. That's right, he got all of his combat training by playing VR missions, and if you think I'm joking, I shit you not, they flat out fucking say that.
I've had extensive training, the kind that's indistinguishable from the real thing. Sneaking missions 60, weapons 80, advanced
VR, huh?
but realistic in every way.
A virtual grunt of the digital age, that's just great.
Raiden is unfortunate enough to run into another part of the terrorist group, Vamp, a man with vampire-like qualities who can also run on water, run up walls, and recover from nearly any injury. The guy's fucking Wolverine, basically, minus the claws, but he has an affinity for knives, if that helps. With the bombs disposed of, all that's left is the hostage situation. Raiden begins to head out, but a random ninja suddenly enters the scene, acting as a messenger for the Lalilulelo. That means the Patriots. It's a stupid code word. With the location of the president known, Raiden continues on, but he's intercepted by the man claiming to be Solid Snake, something Pliskin takes offense to. I wonder why.
That's a mystery.
Now, Pliskin exposes to Raiden that he's the real Solid Snake, and that this Dr. Octo Octavius-looking motherfucker is revealed to be Solidus Snake, the secret third child of the Les Enfants project, and the former president of the United States, George Sears. For the record, he's not the kidnapped president, he's the president from the first Metal Gear Solid, the one Ocelot reported to. But former president or not, Raiden and Snake join together to take out Solidus, who thinks that Hindies are overrated and tries to take out the two with a goddamn Harrier jet. You ever see True Lies? Never mind. Raiden is able to take care of Vamp, but Arsenal Gear is now fully prepared to take off. On the plus side, Raiden stumbles upon Emma. She's not quite the geek as Otacon, but just as adorable and voiced by Jennifer Hale. But the virus seemingly fails to properly connect. Fuck. The only way to stop Arsenal Gear now is to infiltrate the fortress itself and stop Solidus head on, so Snake requests some help. The ninja then surprisingly shows up and reveals himself to be Olga, Glukovich's daughter. She knocks Raiden unconscious and the man wakes up bare ass inside Arsenal Gear, under the watchful eye of Solidus and Ocelot. And this continues on. The Colonel and even Rose begin to act stranger and stranger, utterly demolishing what was left of the fourth wall.
Raiden, turn the game console off right now.
What did you say?
The mission is a failure. Cut the power right now.
What's wrong with you?
Don't worry, it's a game. It's a game just like usual.
Rose even reveals that she was an agent of the Patriots who ended up having legitimate romantic feelings towards Raiden. But with all the strange shit happening around him now, Raiden isn't sure what to believe at this point, yet he still manages to rendezvous with Snake inside Arsenal Gear, getting all his stuff back, including a cool new sword courtesy of Olga. Raiden and Snake split up after an encounter with Fortune, and Raiden ends up in the rectum of Arsenal Gear. No, that's not a joke. That's what this place is called, the Rectum. And does anybody else think this place looks like that virtual room in VR missions where you take pictures of Naomi and Mei-Ling? Are we taking pictures of two girls inside someone's ass? Whose rectum is this? With Solidus dead, Raiden is left to ponder about his existence, the meaning of it all, but then Snake appears out of nowhere to tell Raiden that he's in charge of his own destiny, and that everything he felt during the mission was from his own accord. He also informs Raiden that he planted a tracking device on Ocelot's Metal Gear Ray to eventually follow him, in hopes of one day rescuing Olga's child and putting an end to the Patriots. But before any of that can happen, Raiden's got some catching up to do, and soon he spots Rose, evidently free from the Patriots' captivity. Okay. Alright. Quentin Flynn could have sounded less like a dork at times, largely as things got worse near the end of the game, but I'm also willing to bet that was the point too.
Colonel, I've got Emma Emmerich here. We've managed to avoid drowning.
And I will always enjoy this little exchange.
Raiden, something happened to me last Thursday when I was driving home. I had a couple of miles to go. I looked up and saw a glowing orange object in the sky, to the east. It was moving very irregularly. Suddenly, there was intense light all around me, and when I came to, I was home. What do you think happened to me?
Huh?
I love that, and there's much more where that came from. But if I were to harp on anything, it's the little things I skimmed over. While not as bad as the Colonel in MGS1, Snake deliberately withholds information from Raiden at certain intervals, his only excuse being that Raiden didn't ask. Fuck you, Snake. What about all the good times we had in the other games, huh? Didn't ask my ass. You could at least come up with a better excuse.
Not happy about that? Get over it.
When Raiden is having that existential crisis aboard Arsenal Gear, it ain't Rose that consoles him, it's Snake. Rose could have easily filled that role, which would have justified the Patriots holding her captive for a far better reasoning than what the story provides. I was an agent for the Patriots, but I ended up falling in love with you against your will. Well, why? Show us that shit. Make me care. I feel she could have been removed and we would miss nothing. So hey, I mean, if you're just tuning in, skipping the plot summary and all that, I'm sorry. Raiden and Snake share the same movesets, except for the running dash. Snake is more of a dodge roll, while Raiden is a flippy little cartwheel. This is cool and effective for knocking foes out. Bonus points if you can knock them over some rails. But it sort of gets uncomfortable when you're doing cartwheels in the nude. I call them taint flips. I'm doing it over and over again to make you wince, and I'm not sorry. And as always, there's often several ways to approach the encounter, so being covert isn't exactly difficult. You can always use the cardboard box strategy, or maybe hang on a rail to give them the slip, or maybe you can slip. I just like holding enemies up. I couldn't care less about the dog tags. It's cathartic watching them tremble in fear. And if they give me lip, it's time for bed. Non-lethal sleep, of course. I don't get my jollies killing people this time, not even with a neck snap. To me, it was always more satisfying to put them to sleep, stuff them in a locker, or shake their limp bodies to get extra items like ammo or rations. And no, this isn't for a good rank at the end of the game. I haven't really mentioned that part of the series. Since the original Metal Gear, you were ranked at the end of the game on how many times you were spotted, how many people you killed, etc., etc. I always found it strange that the best rank, Big Boss, required that you never killed anyone. Are we sure this guy is bad? Substance brought back the VR missions, and now there's over 500 of them. Whew. If you loved them last time, they're about the same as before, so have fun placing Raiden and Snake in a plethora of different win conditions. And the more you do, the more options you unlock. You can sneak around in Snake's sneaking suit from Metal Gear Solid 1, or the tuxedo, always a fan of that. You can even unlock a Gray Fox ninja suit for Raiden, complementing his new sword. Or you can have Raiden streak around bare-ass on his way to the Quadrant Gymnasium. Taint flip! Oh, Christ. I'm getting closer and closer to Sonic 06 territory in terms of video length. I think I'm going to start packing more coffee and booze. Yeah, but maybe things will get easier next time, even just a little.
Deck the halls with cardboard boxes, lolly-lolly-lo, ho-ho-ho. 'Tis the season to love foxes, lolly-lolly-lo, ho-ho-ho. Don we now our stealth apparel, lolly-lolly-lo, ho-ho-ho. Tokajima's Yuletide carol, lolly-lolly-lo, ho-ho-ho.
Plastic still on. Ever since the 9/11 attacks, the United States has greatly increased security. Flying objects in the sky are kept under a tight watch, and logically this causes a problem for jolly old Saint Nick. Look, some might think that was in poor taste, but maybe it's my love for a bit of dark comedy every once in a while, but that's pretty fucking funny. Of course Santa Claus would have issues flying on a sleigh with 8 reindeer after an event like that. You know, maybe I'm not looking hard enough, but I'm surprised there haven't been more Christmas spin-offs of the Metal Gear franchise, because the major foundation of the series, stealth, makes perfect sense for what Santa Claus does. A jolly fat stranger sneaking into people's houses to leave gifts under the tree, all without being caught. There is no better person for that kind of game, and Santa's up for the job, along with his associate Tiny Tim, who gives Santa the codename of Solid Santa for the mission. The whole mission takes place inside this gargantuan house. All these kids are up and about because they know it's close to Christmas and they want their presents now, but if I had to wait as a kid, then so will these impatient little shits. You hide in a gift box to get past kids, you use a Nerf gun and digital camera to momentarily daze oncoming threats, you smoke a candy cane to reveal infrared lasers, and the house has infrared lasers. What a bunch of paranoid fucks. I knew what kind of game I was getting into the moment I heard the background music begin playing. The lone mercenary had good word that Santa was actually a twin of Big Boss called Big Beard, and that he was part of the Los Bigotes Perfectos project, a means to create the perfect beard, and really, who has a better beard than Santa Claus? Whoa, holy shit, goddamn. Let's give that title to Ramu then, sweet Jesus. Because of Snake's past experiences with Big Boss in Outer Heaven, he didn't want to chance anything by letting his twin go scot-free, even if the person in question was fucking Santa Claus, so Snake kills him. Okay then, as a result of St. Nick's assassination, the SOC system, or the Spirit of Christmas system, has gone out of whack and the number of PNCs has greatly increased. That's pretty naughty children. Character sprites are spot on. Look at Snake here. He looks so adorable while still maintaining that cool dynamic about him, even when I'm wearing a deer head as a disguise.
Wow, it looks like the mold is breaking that jam down. It's almost completely disappeared.
Great. So now I've got a jam-eating mold. What use have I got for that?
Well, it's a stretch, but but maybe it could break down radar jam too.
Use your Novocaine to temporarily knock the fuck out of children. Just the idea of Solid Snake beating the shit out of a kid to get past something is hilarious. You can even blast them in the face with a non-lethal Nikita missile.
Fucking fuck was that? I guess Mark's posing behind you.
Merry Christmas to everyone.
Snake Eater was released in late 2004, but there was plenty of screen time during the build-up, and the one thing the creators were hell-bent on reassuring was that you were controlling Snake from beginning to end. But let's think back. The 1960s? There's no way in hell this could be the same Solid Snake, unless he was a damn good-looking senior citizen by the time of Metal Gear Solid.
After the end of World War II, the world was split into two, East and West. This marked the beginning of the era called the Cold War.
That opening text couldn't have said it better. It's the 1960s, a time of counterculture, beehive hairdos, the Beatles, and political unrest. CIA operative John, under orders from the newly created Fox unit, is sent on a one-man sneaking mission to infiltrate the USSR. He's given the code name of Naked Snake since he's heading into enemy territory without any weapons. Makes me wonder how Solid Snake got his code name. I mean, Solid, Liquid, and Solidus are obvious plays in the state of matter, but I mean within the series. Maybe it's a dick joke? I don't know. Anywho, the mission is a simple one. Snake is sent to rescue a man named Sokolov, a Russian scientist who defected to the United States with his family some time ago, but was forcibly taken back to the Soviet Union after the Cuban Missile Crisis to develop an advanced nuclear-equipped tank called the Shagohod. You were expecting Metal Gear, weren't you? Nope, not this time. Kind of makes the title of the game incorrect. It should be Shagohod Solid. Oh, wait, hold on a second. We're not even playing a Solid Snake this time. It should be Shagohod Naked. Snake proceeds to get Sokolov to safety, but he's shortly interrupted by a faction of Volgan's men, led by a young pretty boy named Ocelot. Okay, he's a cocky little shit, but Snake is quick to demonstrate on how he's the boss. Well, Boss Jr., I guess. But as he continues to the rendezvous point, the two are unexpectedly greeted by the boss, who shockingly claims that she's defecting to the Soviet Union and joining up with Colonel Volgan, who's there to probably laugh in Snake's face. So Snake reaches Groznygrad and locates Sokolov, but Volgan is able to see through his disguise and, using his electric powers, proceeds to beat the fuck out of him. It's a gruesome torture sequence. It also explains why Big Boss wears an eye patch in future games. Good God. He boards the Shagohod and attempts to take down Snake and Eva with a gargantuan tank, but even that is no match for a good old-fashioned RPG and ironically a bolt of lightning. Volgan's dead, but the boss remains. One last climatic encounter is had, ending with Snake as the eventual victor. It's kind of hard to keep this woman down. God damn it. What Snake Eater lacks in complexity, it makes up for in character. This might be a slight exaggeration, but I think Sons of Liberty scared people away from the Solid series. The Patriots, censorship, digital information, the fuck? The boss and everything surrounding her purpose is the true villain of the story. I think it would be a bit of a stretch to say that America or the Philosophers was the actual villain, but in Snake's case, they might as well be. And speaking of him, this guy's a total teddy bear and I love him. He's very likable and feels like someone I can share a cup of coffee with. And you know what made me gravitate to him immediately, and I know this is going to sound weird to some, but it's around the start of the game where Snake's scouting out the upcoming area, he sees the active beehive and what he can do with that, and right there, that fucking smile. And he does it again during his first confrontation with Ocelot. I love that. No one else has shown emotion like this in the heat of the fight so far in the series.
You should come inside the box. Then you'll know what I mean.
Man, I don't want to know what you mean.
No, that wasn't as long as Metal Gear Solid 2. Is it a sign? Am I home free? Oh, fuck, you're shaking your head. Okay, well, let's dive into the game. That's certainly easier to do all the time. You can get them in a hold for a throat slit, or you can interrogate them for some useful hints about the area. And if that's too classy for you, you can give unsuspecting soldiers a hard slam to the ground, instantly knocking them out. This is one of my favorite maneuvers in the whole series. I don't know whether it's because it's easy to do or the sound of the impact. Listen to it again. Tasty. You raise the camo index by doing things like hiding in large tufts of grass or by going into your backpack and changing up your battle fatigues to something more appropriate for the current environment. This even extends to face paint. You can decorate your face with a handful of options, or hey, you wear the riding mask if you like MGS2. Oh my. Guards on patrol have a routine, but they are much slower on the walk. Look at this guy. It's like a Sunday stroll for him. It's fucking Wednesday. Let's compare. This is you healing yourself in Metal Gear Solid. This is you healing yourself in Metal Gear Solid 3. Now imagine doing that over and over again. It's the main reason why I don't look forward to boss fights this time. I mean, they're great when it comes to how they're handled, except for this guy at the end. I was given the early kill or born to death by setting the system clock a week ahead. I have no shame, leave me alone. The jungle in many areas around it is bursting with local flora and fauna and a shitload of animals, and Snake is required to kill or capture food to stay alive and to keep in good shape. Now this I don't mind so much. They give you so many options to consider. Running out of stamina should never ever be a cause for concern. But it's not as frequent for one thing, and hearing Snake comment on the food selection is somewhat endearing. It never feels repetitive, except during this long ass ladder climb. What the fuck is up with this part? Oh, wait. I forgot my gun. Better take the shortcut. And get this, there's next to no backtracking. Hallelujah! How many times have I brought that up during this marathon? A lot, right? Oh man, it feels good. Don't have to worry about going back here or there all the goddamn time, just awaiting what's ahead of me, and that's the way I like it in Metal Gear. One more time, that impact. With your 3DS camera, you can use the pictures of whatever you snapped to make brand new camouflage for Snake to wear. And with the right photos, you can easily get your camo index to 100%. If you don't know what that means, it means you're practically invisible, even if the enemy is right on top of you. That's right. I'm not really here. I'm a snake. There's one thing these two have in common though. Besides being handheld, okay, that's two things. There's two things these have in common. They're handheld and weren't directed by Hideo Kojima. He was a producer for both games, but wasn't the one in charge. Japanese and Europeans know it as Ghost Babel, but we here in America know it as Metal Gear Solid. That was probably to bring up sales. MGS was a big name for the PlayStation. All they had to do was add a little solid there and people would eat it up. I remember thinking about this one too. I love the PlayStation game, but when I saw this on the Toys R Us shelf, I thought, Metal Gear Solid on the Game Boy Color? Nah, I already have it on the PlayStation. The Game Boy Color can't do 3D games and voice acting. Now, where's my Pokemon Gen 2? Well, I hope you're happy past me because I shelled out a pretty penny to get this son of a bitch. So, let me find some AA batteries around here so I can get this party started. Why is it always the battery covers that are the first thing to go on these things? He's also got a thing against American peacekeeping troops butting into his affairs and wants to use the weapon to scare them off. I think that's what he's trying to do. Roy Campbell pays Solid Snake a visit in Alaska, and you see where this is going, right? He pulls him out of retirement to take care of the problem. Fucking hell, even in an alternate continuity, Snake isn't allowed to retire. And the man is hesitant at first, but changes his mind when he learns from Campbell that the GLF fortress is located precisely where Outer Heaven used to be. It looks like a dog head. Does anybody else see a dog head here? I'm not the only one, right? Ghost Babel can be summarized as two people, namely John Parker and Steve Gardner, playing a massive game of chess using the United States, Foxhound, Snake, Metal Gear, the GLF, and the Black Chamber as game pieces. They're the true villains of this plot, and Ghost Babel mainly serves to establish just how selfish these two are, but here's the problem. These two are never seen. Ghost Babel as a standalone has one giant loose thread in the form of Parker and Gardner, the ones responsible for this whole thing. With no resolution on that matter and nothing to follow up afterwards, Ghost Babel feels anticlimactic. Imagine Fellowship of the Ring with no Two Towers or Return of the King. That's what it feels like to me. The guards had peripheral vision like before, but the design of the GLF fortress is very broad, and the overhead perspective lets me see up ahead already. The only major problem I had was with the fucking dogs. They're so damn fast and persistent, but thankfully only used in one or two major areas. But look at this, running in a bush maze with a bunch of dogs on my ass is like I'm playing fucking Pac-Man. And this shimmying puzzle near the end that makes no goddamn sense. Apparently Snake can't turn a tight corner when hugged against the wall. Why can I only go in a straight line during these parts? You see, I'm only looking for the right way to go, and now I gotta turn back because that right there is a no snake zone. So Metal Gear Solid Portable Ops was directed by one Masahiro Yamamoto. I had to dig a little deep to find some info on this guy. Google searches kept pointing me to a Japanese baseball player and a kickboxer, and I doubt he was all that. Well, I don't know. I don't really know the guy. He could be. As far as Metal Gear goes, he's only got Portable Ops under his belt, and he helped with the script for Metal Gear Acid 2, which is also a PSP game. I'm still debating whether or not I should even include these in this marathon. I mean, some of you already think it's going on long enough as it is, but I don't know. Straw poll? This was a standalone expansion to Portable Ops released about a year after the original game that had a much heavier emphasis on online play. You could recruit members for your squad, build a strong team by engaging them in multiple battles, and take on others in some hardcore stealth action. That is until the servers were shut down in 2012, so now Portable Ops Plus is a glorified drink coaster. Gene also has control of a man conditioned to be the perfect soldier called Null. He has no emotion, feels no fear, and later on revealed to be Gray Fox, Frank Yeager. Does that really mean anything? No. So in a major selling point of portable ops, Snake recruits numerous soldiers that are willing to fight for Snake's cause. He's got that magical eye patch now, so he has a natural charisma to him that a lot of soldiers find very appealing. So the Pentagon and the CIA are using the Cold War, Metal Gear, and Gene to conduct the most expensive version of Happy Slaps I've ever heard of. Jesus, the United States is fucked up in Metal Gear. Snake was merely playing his part in getting Gene to play out his role, and I can just imagine Snake thinking, man, I'm really starting to hate my country right about now. Now this sounds like a straightforward story, huh? That's because it sort of is, a rather bland one too. There's not much achieved here in the bigger picture. This can be summarized as the Pentagon and CIA are dicks, Big Boss establishes Foxhound and begins to declare loyalty to himself, and now he has the means to eventually create Outer Heaven thanks to the funds given to him by Gene. I'm not really convinced that Big Boss was inspired by Gene to make that a reality at all, but maybe I need another game to seal it in. And finally, Ocelot along with Zero form the Patriots, and they want to get Big Boss to join them. A large part of the shortened conversation time is codec calls containing no voice acting. That's kept strictly to these stylized cutscenes. These look cool. I'm sure they could have gone with real-time scenes like in the other games, but they attempted something different here and I think it works. But in some scenes it makes Snake look like a bum in desperate need of a shower. Look at that. That's a face of regret. First thing I gotta do is actually find the fucking game. It begins with these tongue-in-cheek commercials that I'm fathoming are supposed to reflect the current world we live in, a cooking show, a workout program, advertisements for private military companies, even a meta interview with David Hayter, the voice of Snake. Is this Metal Gear or RoboCop? Well, Ed 209 can sort of pass for a Metal Gear now that I think about it. I'm sort of half expecting Hideo Kojima to show up covered in flames telling me everything's gonna be alright. Okay then, that's enough of this.
I'd buy that for $1.
In an undisclosed graveyard, we see Snake paying respects to a gravestone. I don't know whose exactly, I don't believe it to be the boss's. I don't even think Snake knows about her. Maybe Gray Fox? Big Boss? Schneider? Let me just rub this in further. We now live in a world where war is used to maintain global structure, and Revolver Ocelot, now under the control of Liquid, called Liquid Ocelot, is leading the PMCs. Really, the whole war economy in a sense.
So this is what Big Boss wanted though, wasn't it? Soldiers always have a place if war is how you survive. So 3 cheers for Big Boss?
Oh, by the way, this young girl right here is Sunny. I didn't know how to segue into introducing her, but she's Olga's child. Yes, she was saved off screen by Raiden some time ago from what it looks like. She can't cook eggs for shit and has 0 communication skills. I blame the tranquilizers if you ask me, but she's second to none in computer skills because of course she is. Imagine miniature Metal Gears that can jump like grasshoppers with long legs made of flesh that also sound like cattle.
War is hell.
Thanks to the assistance of drum barrel technology, I'm sorry, Snake. Snake meets up with the Rat Patrol team, surprisingly led by a returning Meryl. With her team consisting of these 2 guys we never learn much about, honestly, and Akiba. He shits his pants. And they run that joke into the ground. I hope you're a fan of fart and shit jokes. This guy's actually a recurring joke in the Metal Gear series. He's the person Meryl knocked out to escape her prison in Shadow Moses. You can hear him go to the bathroom in Sons of Liberty with a directional microphone. You meet his grandfather in Snake Eater. And now here he is alongside Meryl with a serious case of the runs. Lovely. So I guess now is the best time to mention these ladies. They're this game's group of villains, like the Sons of Big Boss in MGS1 or the Sons of Liberty in MGS2, but they mean as much as the Cobra unit in MGS3. They have no real personalities, no bearing on anything. They only exist to rub in the not-so-subtle message of
war is hell.
So during the mission, Campbell gives Snake a quick codec call to introduce him to his new wife and psychoanalyst for this operation.
Oh god, he married Rose? What the hell happened with her and Raiden? I had to sit through those agonizing April 30th conversations just for them to cut the knot between games?
Not happy about that? Get over it.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, their escape route is cut off by more geckos, but a random ninja suddenly enters the scene and begins to cut down the opposition. And oh my, what the fuck? Did I accidentally put in the twin snakes instead? It's Raiden, decked out in a new cybernetic ninja body very similar to Gray Fox. He deals with the remaining gecko and has a lengthy one-on-one battle with Vamp, ending with a stalemate as he along with Snake, Naomi, and Otacon escape back into the Nomad to fight another day. Raiden points Snake and Otacon towards Eastern Europe for the medical supplies he needs, but he also wants them to meet the person who sent Raiden to help Snake, Big Mama. Gotta hope that's a play on Big Boss and not... Oh god. He found another way to get inside, and it was GW, one part of the Patriots AI from Sons of Liberty. It wasn't completely destroyed after all, and Liquid was able to reconstruct it to unlock full access to the SOP system. The man is now free to do what he wants with every soldier in the system, a weapon he dubs the Guns of the Patriots, and he spends the first 5 minutes of his newfound power acting like a total jackass.
Bang, bang, bang! You see? Guns of the Patriots. It's a visual pun. A pun gun, if you will.
There's only one place left in the world that has tag-free nuclear weapons along with the means to use them, and that's Shadow Moses. Liquid plans on using the railgun of Metal Gear Rex to launch the weapon with no interference. So, in a nostalgia-filled trip down memory lane, whoa, is the whole chapter like this? This is a flashback to the extreme.
Oh shit, that was just a dream. Oh, but I have this new disguise now. Give me a moment. Bam. Old Snake. This was such a cool moment for me. Look at this. It's just how I remember it. The tank hangar, Otacon's old office. Now it's all in HD and dank. Just a moment. I want to savor this. It's so cold. Otacon is able to reactivate Metal Gear Rex for Snake and Raiden to use to get out of the base. This makes no sense, but this is fucking incredible. Now I see why Liquid was such a large ham on this thing. But it gets even better. As Snake and Raiden escape the facility on board Rex, Liquid pops out of the ocean on board Metal Gear Ray, and the two have a Metal Gear battle. This is how far we've come, people, and it's so fucking dazzling. Look at this. I'm suddenly forgetting all of the exposition I went through in the last chapter. Liquid makes a run for it with Snake on his tail, but out of the ocean arises a gargantuan battleship with a what the fuck? Alright. Sorry, let me try that again. A gargantuan battleship arises out of the ocean with Liquid climbing on board. It's got Rex's railgun attached, along with a plethora of Ray units on the side. This is like a super version of Arsenal gear from Sons of Liberty, but Liquid calls it Outer Haven, not Heaven. Haven. And Liquid attempts to ram Snake with the whole fucking ship, but Raiden steps in and uses his body to halt the entire goddamn ship long enough for a naval battleship to arrive, forcing Liquid to escape for the time being. The first 4 chapters of this game seem to end all the same. Liquid does something and then gets away. Liquid does something then gets away. Liquid does something then gets away. And Liquid does something then gets away. Can we start getting some resolution here? In an escalating climax, Snake, along with Raiden, who by the way fucking survived the whole— oh Jesus, forget it. Snake fights his way through Outer Haven troopers, Gecko units, these annoying little scarab things, and a giant microwave emitter to reach the core of Outer Haven. The virus is uploaded, but instead of just destroying GW, the whole infrastructure of the Patriots AI is completely wiped out. The Patriots and the SOP system are no more, with the world left as a blank slate. Rose reunites with Raiden when the whole marriage with Campbell is revealed to be a ploy to keep them under the Patriots' radar and to protect their child. Yeah, that's right, I seem to recall Rose mentioning she was pregnant in Sons of Liberty. Well, it looks like they're finally happy together. The kid kind of looks like a young Virgil. Everyone else sees that, right? Well, by the end of the game, he's all patched up with a new body. I won't begin to ask how that works, but I think I'm at a point where I can simply say nanomachines, because in this game, that's how everything works. It's nanomachines that gives the SOP system control over the military. It's nanomachines how Vamp is seemingly immoral. It's nanomachines with how Ocelot fools everyone with his Liquid persona, even the very system that uses nanomachines to their advantage. I would have liked to see Sunny get more development, perhaps an in-game explanation as to why she's so good with computers, maybe some more interaction with Otacon. These two share a major similarity being socially awkward geniuses, but most of Sunny's background as a computer whiz is mostly told, not shown. Sunny helped write this code to shut the system down. Sunny helped me develop the Mark III. That's cool. Can I see some of that, please? I don't think that's asking much. The whole thing with Sunny learning how to cook eggs only really acts as a visual metaphor for the overarching story. They start off like shit because the world is in deep shit, and by the end everything is looking up, so the eggs are sunny side up. Oh. Sunny side up. Oh, come on, that wasn't just for a pun, was it? And you may be like, well, John, I'm sure the game more than makes up for it, but that's just it. There's so little of that here. Again, I covered around 70% of the game just by covering the story. There's so many cutscenes. I can't even find a pace here. I do something with Snake for a few minutes, or in the opening's case, crawl under a truck, and then it's back to watching another scene. So if you're just tuning in, I'll say it again. This game right here is for Metal Gear fans. If you don't care about story or anything like that, then you're looking about 5 hours of actual gameplay. Now that we're on the subject of that, so far I think this is the best in the series. Even for a man of Snake's age, he manages to keep an impressive shape, and you know what I'm talking about. If Crash Bandicoot was at one time called Sonic's ass game, this is Snake's ass game. You better learn to embrace it, because it's staring at you the whole way through, baby. Hope you like that rock solid man ass. It even glows when you stick it in the microwave. It knows you're staring, and yeah, stupid sexy Snake. And with that cash, you can unlock additional weapons or buy ammo for weapons you already own. It's damn easy to rack up Drebin points, not really a limitless source of ammunition, but close enough. With all the ammo in the world, nothing's stopping you from unleashing your rage! Oh sweet Jesus, I did it! I've crossed the apex of Metal Gear complexity. The Metal Gear Solid series is finally over. So why are there still a handful of games left to review? Next up in the Metal Gear Marathon, I'm looking at Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance. What? Oh, Platinum Games. Ooh, I might be in for a treat. Metal Gear Solid 4 was the grand finale of the series. Everyone's stories wrapped up in some form or fashion. That was that. What more could be told? Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance began life as Metal Gear Solid Rising. You want to know why I call it hack and slash? Because I spend 95% of the game hacking and slashing things with my katana, so cut me some slack.
The end result was not Metal Gear Solid Rising, but Metal Gear Rising Revengeance for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and 1 year later the PC. Raiden, now working for a PMC called Maverick, is seen providing security detail for an African prime minister. The man's got to pay the bills somehow, and I guess being a fighter is all he really knows. I don't know what Rose thinks about all this, but guess what? She's not in this game, nor is Raiden's son. Maybe Platinum Games didn't like any of this shit either. After a successful raid, Raiden heads to Mexico to investigate a research laboratory. Oh my god. This is the kind of game you're playing, guys. I'm tempted to play the entire game like this. Okay, where was I? I'm sorry. You have a game where the very first boss is a Metal Gear Ray unit, which Raiden fucking throws into the air. Raiden gets his arm cut off by Sam early in the game, and this is his response.
Shit, not again.
There's Ninja Raiden in the sombrero, Ninja Raiden driving down the interstate in his fancy car, Ninja Raiden riding a motorcycle. If Shadow the Hedgehog were this whimsical, I think I would have been a hell of a lot easier on it. So it kind of goes without saying. Fans of the Metal Gear formula exclusively, and I'm talking gameplay this time, not just story, will most definitely want to look somewhere else because, I mean, isn't it obvious enough? You fucking cut a Metal Gear Ray unit in half! Okay, sorry if I seem a little distracted, folks. I'm just, reflecting for a bit, but I'll elaborate more on that at the end of the video. But these two slowly crept back into my mind the moment I started getting this marathon into high gear, so I figured I'd leave it up to you guys to decide whether or not I should include them. Well, you guys spoke up before, so here I am. Now, I don't know if this was supposed to break us into the card game formula, but this shit moves way too fucking fast to absorb anything, and it ended up just leaving me confused and somewhat intimidated. A jumbo jet carrying a number of passengers, including a small girl named Manette and Senator/future presidential candidate Viggo Hawk, is hijacked by terrorists, two dolls. I feel like I'm watching one of those cheesy episodes of the Batman animated series, and this is where I begin to lose focus because now Metal Gear Acid decides to twist things into a Metal Gear pretzel. Dr. Fleming worked for a company named Beagle. He made a bunch of biological weapons for them, two of them being called Number 16 and Number 104, who were human weapons, but they supposedly died off. Beagle began treating Fleming like shit, so he went rogue. His daughter is being held captive on the hijacked plane. He says that Number 16, his creation, is responsible for the hijack, and they have a personal grudge against him and Snake. He wants to use Metal Gear to take them on. Snake begins to fight his inner demons. Tobliko turns out to be a hired killer of Beagle named La Clown who can fuck with people's heads and was sent to extract Pythagoras from Fleming and take out both him and Snake when she was finished. Fleming's daughter disarms the bomb inside the jumbo jet with the help of Alice. Alice is revealed to be Number 16, the one behind everything. Fleming's daughter is revealed to be Number 104, the one really behind everything. Snake plays some Mario Party. It turns out Snake is not actually Hans Davis, but just Snake. The Hans Davis stuff was just some shit La Clown put into his head. He meets up with the real Tobliko Freeman after killing the fake Tobliko Freeman. There's a long battle with Metal Gear. I think the plane safely lands, and this guy right here turns out to be the real Hans Davis. Mother of Christ, this story is all over the place. It's like, let's take the formula of Metal Gear and just add a fuckload of psychological twists and turns and shocks and swerves. This was fucking impossible to keep up with because it feels like this story has no focus. Now, being fair here, Acid encourages stealth. If you stay out of sight, then worrying about what cards you have in your hand should be no problem, since nearly all of them can be used to simply move across the board. It's those sequences where fights are mandatory and where certain cards are required to progress are infuriating to the fucking moon! And then the missions just kept getting longer and longer. Some going on as long as an hour and a half, damn near 2, with no checkpoints. You fuck up 2 hours into a mission because of a bad hand or some other circumstance like cramp level design, you're doing it all over again, and that's just fucking wrong and counterintuitive to handle design. This is an extremely rare sight. Solid Snake just relaxing with friends. I think they're friends given the friendly banter, but this is kind of nice. Don't know what happened to Roger McCoy or Tobliko Freeman from last time, but I guess the storytellers don't care either. Accompanying Snake is Venus, a soldier working for Wiseman and sporting a very large cranium. Look at that noggin. Her head is like 90% skull. The new Metal Gear is destroyed in no time thanks to the efforts of Snake and Venus, but Wiseman orders Venus to kill Snake and grab the Lucinda file from Takayama so that Wiseman can hide the fact that he was responsible for Snake's memory loss to use him as a scapegoat for later on. He was also the true murderer of Copplethorne's wife 3 years ago. Okay, look, we get it, guys. He's evil. I mean, really, the face tells everything. But this is Snake we're talking about here, and he won't go quietly into the night. He neutralizes Venus, and the two split up as the entire facility begins to self-destruct. Venus escapes with Takayama in a jeep, and Snake, in a sequence I couldn't make up if I tried, uses the railgun of the defunct Metal Gear to launch himself away from the base before it goes under. Holy shit, that's fucking awesome. I mean, he breaks every bone in his body, but being a clone of a legendary mercenary that was no doubt enhanced in some fashion, he heals up pretty quickly. One character I didn't mention through the synopsis was a computer hacker named BB. He or she serves to exposit the evil deeds that Wiseman and Saint Logic performed in years prior to this game, but most importantly, this person's the reason why Wiseman gets incarcerated by the President of the United States at the end of the game. And then BB is revealed to be a kid from elementary school. A grade school kid gets the Army Chief of Staff arrested. That about
about sums up Acid 2 nicely, you know? If Snake launching himself out of the Metal Gear's cannon to escape the facility wasn't indicative enough. It's all ridiculous, but in a fun sort of ridiculous. Certainly not Metal Gear levels of complexity, but I'd rather it be this than what Acid 1 was trying to accomplish. I look forward to getting seen by the enemies because that means it's fucking party time. And I can't end this video without at least mentioning this as well. Acid 2 came with this solid eye 3D viewer. You can watch trailers and other videos in stereoscopic 3D, essentially what the 3DS does already without the need for this piece of cardboard. It's a little awkward. I feel like I'm studying microorganisms rather than watching compressed videos in substandard 3D. And I sort of feel like a creeper when I watch the videos where I do nothing but stare at this girl doing random things. Still an interesting thing to come packaged with the game, assuming you didn't buy it used. This kind of looks like the head of a cute robot. You know what, let me just... And then... Booyah, solid eye, robot. It's been over a decade since the events of Snake Eater. I would say 4 years after Portable Ops, but Peace Walker does not care about Portable Ops.
Finally, we can leave all that crap in San Geronimo behind.
After Snake saves their asses from enemy gunfire, he enlists the help of the Sandinista Liberation Army, a rebellious faction trying to fend off the army with all they got, which isn't much when their enemies are fucking unmanned flying vehicles that sing. Within this rebellious group is Amanda Libre, the leader of the SLA looking to gain the respect of her comrades, and Chico, a young man who loves talking about mythical monsters, which is all cute and childlike until we get to the part where we learn that he was responsible for the SLA getting attacked by the mysterious army after he gave up their location when he was captured and cruelly tortured.
War is hell.
Hot Coldman. Hot Coldman. You know, I'm betting that's not even a code name, that's probably his actual fucking name. He rallies his troops in the MSF, declaring that they're an army without borders, one that fights for themselves or nations with no other recourse, and if necessary, act as revolutionaries, criminals, or terrorists. Their heaven, their hell, their outer heaven. And I admit, that's a badass speech Big Boss gives at the end there, but... Not to say there isn't any gold in these audio tapes, it's the only way you'll learn that Big Boss, the leader of Outer Heaven, the greatest mercenary of the 20th century, and the biggest badass in the Metal Gear franchise, believes in Santa Claus.
Snake! How much do you know about the U.S. Homeland Air Defense Network?
I don't know much about what goes on up in the sky. What I do know is that NORAD tracks Santa Claus on its radar.
Nice one. I didn't know you were a comedian, too.
Huh? No, I'm serious. It's true, NORAD tracks his... Listen to me. Every December they set up a hotline and...
Okay, I get it.
He's real, I tell ya. He used to bring me presents and...
This means Metal Gear Solid is canon now, right? Some cutscenes are even interactive now, usually serving nothing more than just getting you involved. Nothing happens if you fuck up. I guess the game just wanted to make sure that you were paying attention. Now avoid those missiles, survive that torture, and locate Hideo Kojima in a truck and recruit him to your base. And I didn't make that last one up, by the way. I'm just glad to be back to a style of stealth gameplay I'm familiar with. Moving where I want, when I want, shooting when I damn well want to, slamming fuckers down with CQC, and now I can execute that multiple times when encountering a large group, and crawling when I... Huh? Hold the phone, I can't crawl anymore? I just lie on the floor until I'm ready to get back up. I see a crawl space here. I know the objective lies on the other side, but now I gotta go the long way around because I suddenly can't crawl anymore. What the fuck is with this sudden omission? The crouch walk is good enough, but what about the extra reassurance? Or when I'm using a sniper rifle for maximum precision? This is a baffling exclusion. I mean, I'll live, but I don't understand why it was taken out. This is one area I'm very happy they improved over from Portable Ops. Whew, back then you had to knock soldiers out and drag their asses back to the truck. It was slow and uninteresting, but Peace Walker fixes this with the Fulton recovery system. You want to recruit someone, you knock their ass out, equip the Fulton recovery, and watch as you strap them in for a wild balloon ride back to Mother Base. Even indoors, I'm assuming every building here has a sunroof I can't see. So if I squinted my eyes, I would think I was playing Revengeance with how nimble some of these machines move, but we're back to the more down-to-earth tone of Metal Gear Solid, where Snake can't rely on the over-the-top tricks to...
Bravo! Great job!
Or he can just hold up a giant fucking tank to avoid getting crushed. Okay, look, I know Big Boss is hailed as a legendary soldier of the 20th century, but he ain't fucking Superman, people. Shoutouts to the Calamity crew for joining me in some Peace Walker action. It made some extra missions like optional tank battles and the other mechanical boss fights so much fucking easier. It was a good time. We moved around in box tanks, got extensive training in CPR, roasted some rations in the box and everything, went all Power Rangers in our choice of clothing, watched a haystack murder someone, and decided to take on a monster hunter dragon in some stylish tuxedos. Yes, I said Monster Hunter Dragons. There are a handful of missions where Snake and his men can battle mythical creatures from the Monster Hunter franchise, including an organic, breathing version of Metal Gear Rex from MGS1. Alright, I think I found the most bizarre moment in the franchise with Big Boss talking to this cat from Monster Hunter, and he can understand everything he says. Get friends for these because they can take a beating, especially when you have to put them to sleep to get exclusive gear. It takes so many tranquilizers that by the end of the fight, you're basically like...
Go to sleep, go to sleep.
The story-based mission shouldn't take you more than 1 to 2 hours in your first playthrough. You rescue some hostages from the prison, get them in the chopper, and watch shit go down. There's a handful of other things to do in additional side missions, such as killing specific targets or rescuing Hideo Kojima from the clutches of Konami. In a discreet hospital, Snake momentarily awakens with the doctor telling him that he's been out for a whole 9 years, prompting him to faint. When he comes to, he also discovers that he has shrapnel embedded into his forehead and that he lost his left hand, prompting him to faint again. And then he wakes up and finds out that he's now voiced by Kiefer Sutherland, and then he faints again. Now I'm kidding on that last part. The fainting part, not the Kiefer Sutherland part. He's actually voicing Snake now, replacing long runner David Hayter. And like many others, I was uncertain of this change. I've known David Hayter as Snake for years, but Sutherland isn't bad in the role, even if it's just Jack Bauer with an eye patch. The Man on Fire wipes out the strike team with great balls of fire, fire whales, fire unicorns. I thought I was finished with the Monster Hunter side quest, so what the fuck is going on here? I really should have mentioned this during the Peace Walker video, but with Miller rocking these thick shades and being voiced by Robert Atkin Downs, everyone else hears and sees Travis Touchdown, right?
They played us like a damn fiddle! Come on, start talking, bitch!
The Metal Gear is taken back to the Mother Base as a glorified trophy, but surprise, surprise, Eli and his faction of child soldiers manage to take Sahelanthropus right from under Snake's nose and escape with the giant mech to do things. This part of the story is never resolved in-game. More on that later. And then we suddenly get the biggest twist of the entire game. This isn't Big Boss. He was the medic on the chopper with Snake during Ground Zeroes, who was given extensive surgery to make him look like the boss's double. Everything involving this Phantom Snake, everything he's been through, including the establishment of Diamond Dogs, was all just so that the real Big Boss could form his new outer heaven elsewhere while staying under Cypher's radar. After that revelation, the game just ends. Like that's it? I mean, what do you say? To me, it's the most blatant Kojima has ever gotten, with the overall message of war is hell.
Guns of the Patriots was 75% movie, 25% game. This is 25% movie and 75% game. But they've done it. They've made a Metal Gear title where you're actually playing it longer than you are watching it.
But fucking hell, Phantom Pain is long. Look at how many hours I put into it before finishing the story. I'm only at what this game considers to be 45%. How long would it take to 100% this son of a bitch? That's a serious question, by the way. If you've done it, post that shit in the comments or on my social media pages. I want pics, damn it. You can carry a lot of things with balloons now. Animals, child soldiers, military weapons, even vehicles in large containers when you upgrade it enough. I don't know, there's just something inherently funny about it and satisfying. This bear, for instance, it gave me a lot of shit. Like, I know I shouldn't be fighting a bear head on. I'm trying to tranquilize it, damn it. But when it finally went down and I strapped its ass down for a wild ride, that felt good. Now away, noble steed! That's the D-Walker, a miniature Metal Gear walker that could put things to sleep or blow them away with a fucking Gatling gun. It's one of the few buddies you can take along with you once you unlock them. It could be an adorable wolf dog that really helps when sniffing out enemies and prisoners, or maybe you like to travel the countryside on an actual steed, the D-Horse. Gentlemen, let's race some around. Oh shit! I also don't like how every mission has its own set of opening and closing credits. The opening credits kind of spoil the surprise of what to expect in the upcoming mission. Oh, looks like I'm running into the Man on Fire this mission because the game just blatantly told me so. Now I'm suddenly in less suspense. Metal Gear Online is really nothing we haven't already seen in other games like Call of Duty. You got your basic team deathmatches along with a few other modes, so you can get more mileage out of your Metal Gear Solid 5 if you have other players to shoot guns with, and I recommend getting friends for this. The PlayStation Network community was a little on the bearish side, so I had to acquire some assistance from some fans on my social media pages, and guys, thanks again so much for joining me on such short notice and letting me experience Metal Gear Online. Some of you are clearly in a league of your own, but I'm happy to have taken a rocket punch to the face if it meant getting a laugh out of me. And thanks again for the group photo opportunity. Now give me a hug!
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we've done it. The Metal Gear Marathon is finally over.